just remember that you can make a difference no matter who you are, no matter what you're going through, and no matter where you came from or where you're going. We have an opportunity once again to make a difference in the lives of everybody we come in contact with every single day. Even when things might not be going your way, you can still make a big difference in the lives of others.
It's Do Good Week on Wisco Legacy. We have Eric Salzwedel from Do Good Wisconsin. On this week's episode, we talk about his origin story, how he came to be committed to community service and volunteering and giving back, and how he developed with his co-founder Brian Herbst, Do Good Wisconsin. As part of this week, I'm really excited to be promoting Do Good Week here on Wisco Legacy. I'm personally going to be committing myself to doing good for others, and I'm really hoping all the listeners here will do the same. If you do something good and want to share that, head on out to our social media and comment on our post saying what you did, or post yourself and use the hashtag Wisco Legacy. And with that, let's dive on into episode 36 of Wisco Legacy with Eric Salzwedel.
Hi, this is Eric Salzwedel, co-founder of Do Good Wisconsin, and this is my Wisco Legacy.
I'm excited to have Eric Salzwedel on today's episode. He's the co-founder of Do Good Wisconsin. Eric, welcome to Wisco Legacy.
Thanks for having me, Corey. Excited to be here.
You are a native Wisconsinite. You spent, I believe, most of your life here in Wisconsin. Can you talk about growing up here in Wisconsin?
Yeah, I grew up in Columbus, Wisconsin, so just north of Madison a little bit. And that's where I was all the way through high school. And I went off to college at UW Oshkosh, and I got my bachelor degree there with human services and leadership. And then I ended up making my way down to Janesville for a couple of years, running a marketing firm down there, and then kind of proceeding upwards back towards Madison. And now my wife, son, and I, we live in Marshall, Wisconsin.
So you've hit a few different cities around the state of Wisconsin. I want to talk about you're a nonprofit leader in the Wisconsin region. When did that passion for giving back start with you?
I remember growing up doing the jump rope for heart thing, right? I think this might have been third or fourth grade. I think many of us or many listening might kind of relate a little bit to that. And I remember at that point now, I thought it was kind of cool, right? You'd get the form and it said if you raise so much, you'd get little trinkets basically, right? Well, I wanted to be that top fundraiser. Not because at that point did I realize the difference I was making with the American Heart Association and the funds raised, but it's like I wanted that duffel bag, right? But one of the things though early on though was just truly the support of my family. A lot of times it was like, here, mom and dad, here is the envelope for donations. Can you please take it to your work and ask all of your coworkers to make a donation? And, and they helped me with that and supported that. And of course I, made my effort as well. Probably at that point, not as much as I do now, but, there were a few times that I became that top fundraiser. But again, I looked at that point in my life, just the accolades of like, oh, cool, I was the top fundraiser, but I got all this really cool free stuff, right? All these incentive prizes. But through eighth grade, though, at some point, a couple of years later, I did start to volunteer right across the street from my school. I went to Zion Lutheran School in Columbus, was a nursing home. And I found out, and I don't recall exactly how it came to be, but that they would look for volunteers. And the opportunity to go there right after school to volunteer, I would, be there volunteering with the elderly and helping them with bingo or church, and mainly going, to their room, getting them and kind of wheeling them to church or wheeling them to my favorite, which was bingo, and kind of working or being there with a senior citizen and playing bingo with them and just having some fun and building a great relationship with the elderly. And that was super, super impactful. And I'll never forget, there was one, her name was Grace. And I remember there's one time she won like a little tiny stuffed goose that could fit in your hand. And she gave it to me, and I'm like, this is so cool and so nice of her. And unfortunately, not too long after that, she had passed away. And and so that kind of gave me maybe a little sense of like, well, maybe I'm kind of making a difference in someone's life, and this was meaningful, something I got from somebody that gave me this gift. And moving forward, when I went into high school, I didn't do necessarily a lot in high school, I would say, from a volunteer standpoint or giving back. But I do remember my senior year of high school, I saw in my guidance counselor's office was a poster to volunteer at an MDA camp, Muscular Dystrophy Association camp. And I had no idea what muscular dystrophy was. And, it's not like I daily was around someone in a wheelchair and worked with them, and so on and so forth. And anyway, I decided to volunteer. I was the only one in my high school to volunteer, so I signed up. I filled in this huge application. Well, it wasn't huge, but to me it was at that moment. And so I sent it in, and I was starting the preparation process of going to this camp for a week to be paired up with someone or a kid or youth that had muscular dystrophy to help them have the best week of their life at this camp with others. And I didn't realize though that the day camp started was also the same day that I was graduating high school. So literally, I was walking across the stage. I got my high school diploma, and then I jumped in my parents' van because I was already late for this camp. And so, of course, that made me super nervous. It's like the one guy, new volunteer, that's showing up late, right? And I got paired up with a kid. His name was Eric, ironically as well, and man, it was such a life changing experience to be around somebody different than myself, and helping them and assisting them do things that they may not be able to do on their own, and just seeing the appreciation and the smile and the love um, coming from all of that. And it's an incredible feeling when you're able to give to somebody that might not be able to give something back to you. And the last day of camp, I remember there was another camper. Her name was Bella. That asked for me, and like she wanted to give me a hug before she got in her van, and go back home, right? And she wanted to give me a hug, and like I don't know, at that moment it just again really hit me, just the difference I was making, even though maybe right then and there I wasn't thinking like, am I really making that big of an impact? But then to see, a kid with tears in her eyes and appreciating me for the relationship and the friendship I built with her in just a few days, and just saying hi and just a few things of interaction, that the difference I could make in someone's life can happen very quickly. And it was just a really an incredible moment that's always stuck with me. And proceeding when I went into college, then I started doing a number of volunteer activities, and especially when I switched my major to human services, knowing maybe at some point I want to get in the nonprofit sector. Now, mind you, it took me a few years to switch to this major, because I initially thought, oh, I'm going to be I want to work as like an athletic trainer. I like to help people, and I like sports. Well, medical terminology was not that wasn't up there. So I'm like, no, maybe not. And then I was starting to do some marketing and sales. I'm like, well, maybe I should switch my major to business. Well, economics wasn't, that didn't work. And so came across human services. A lot, it's a very broad field that you can get into, and obviously a lot of it's really the helping field, and helping others. And that's what I majored in, and I actually became a president of that organization on campus, and volunteered with numerous different organizations. And then when I was in college, I was a big bowler. I liked to bowl, and at that time, I was also a big brother for Big Brothers Big Sisters, and I knew that they had their fundraiser, their bowl for kids' sake, and I'm like, well, I want to start my own bowl-a-thon. So I dragged friends to go bowling, didn't know what the heck I was doing. We raised like $930. And that event now, I mean, we ran it for 12 years pre-COVID, and it's raised $150,000. And this was me as a college student, not knowing what the heck I was doing. And again, that's just something I would voluntarily do, and I did it even when I didn't even live in that area. Even when I lived down in Janesville and going all the way back up to Oshkosh, it was kind of an incredible experience. And so then I got into marketing after college, but then I volunteered in Haiti a few different times, and I feel like that's where my heart and my passion was. And then that proceeded into helping with adults with mental and cognitive disabilities, and then I moved into the nonprofit sector, working there for several years until I started my own consulting firm. Still kind of in that charitable component side of things. So that's a long version, I think, Corey, for you.
Yeah, no, that's great. You've had some incredible experiences through that. When I was in college, I was a president of the Edgewood College Rotaract Club. We did a lot of volunteering, community service, and the impact you can make by doing that, and that feeling you get from giving back is just so incredible. Can you talk about that feeling?
Yeah, no doubt. It's one of those feelings, right? That I feel like it's hard to explain. You have to experience it. And I feel like the only time you get a chance to experience that is when you go out of your comfort zone. You're around people that are not like you, and there's a multitude of different ways of giving, right? And it can make you feel good in all different ways, right? One is volunteering your time. So going to this camp, right, really changed my life and my perspective and my lens and how I view the world. And I think that's what it truly does to you when you volunteer, and especially in different capacities, and giving back. And sometimes people's volunteer experiences are different, and it depends. Different organizations. I mean, I was blessed with the opportunity to go down to. I've been down to Guatemala. I was the only one from Wisconsin to do it. I saw an organization online. I decided to go do that over my spring break, and I had to raise money to go do that, and made 30 friends and volunteered down there. And then when I bragged on Facebook one time that I had like a $750 airline credit from American Airlines, a person I didn't really know commented, said, "Hey, American Airlines is the airline really to had to come to Haiti if you ever want to help us build a medical clinic." And I'm like, "Heck yeah!" And that turned into me going 3 times down to Haiti. The poorest country in the Western Hemisphere, and you go there and you see the way the people live that you may never ever see here in the U.S. Even though there are situations like that in the U.S. But you go down there and you're working on this medical clinic, and sometimes through the night, and some of the Haitian workers are sleeping on a piece of cardboard on the concrete floor, and you're kind of like, okay, yeah, my bad days are really not bad days, right? There are other people that have it worse than me. And again, I think that's what really changed my life and my perspective on a lot of things, is because I've had the opportunity to experience a lot of this, and I encourage people to do it because the feeling is remarkable when you can do something for somebody that cannot pay you back, repay you. That it's something it's hard to explain, but it's the best feeling in the world. Right? I mean, it releases those the happy drug, the serotonin, right in your brain. That's like that makes you feel good. And when you're giving and when you're receiving and when you're visually just seeing people do that, I think that's one of the things that's inspired me so much to do what I'm doing. And I share a lot what I do, not because I want a pat on the back, but simply because I hope to inspire other people to do the same thing. That they can do the same thing, right? It's not just a monetary thing of like, hey, just donate money. You can donate your time, you can donate your skills, your things, you can advocate. There's so many different ways of giving back, and it's just something I hope more and more people get a chance to do. And there's a lot of ways you can do that and find opportunities online, etc. So.
Hmm. Where did that drive come from? Did you have people around you growing up that helped build that drive within you to give back?
I remember when I was doing marketing and sales for a while, my manager, was very encouraging, and, read this book by Matthew Kelly called The Dreams Manager. And we kind of did this like workshop of like writing down 100 of your dreams, things that you want to accomplish in your life. Like, not if there's, money's not an issue, blah, 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 blah. What do you want to accomplish and do? Right? Like your bucket list. And so literally I wrote down like 100 different things. Um, and I remember then it was like, okay, well, then we kind of broke that down kind of over several different year periods, right? And then the next thing is like, well, what do you want to do over the next year? And so I wrote down three things, and one was to start my own fundraiser. The second was to travel to and volunteer in a different country, and the third was to get in shape, that's a rough one to say whether or not I got in shape. Maybe I just crossed that one off, like, yeah, I think so, maybe. But and I printed that off on a half sheet, and I put it next to my bunk bed in my dorm room. And so every morning when I woke up, I would see like that's what I want to accomplish, and then I just kind of laid out that path, or I figured out a path, or I Googled how do people start a bowl-a-thon? What do people charge? What do people get? How do you do this? And then I just like went to the bowling alley and I said, hey, I want to do a bowl-a-thon or raise money. How do I do it? And just Googling things and figuring out ways to do it. Same thing with like volunteering in another country, and I was googling a couple things, and next thing you know, getting signed up to go to Guatemala. Not speaking Spanish, I'm not fluent in Spanish. I know a few words, but and I was the only one from Wisconsin to go. Nobody else was from the states, um, and just the encouragement of and support from so many people, and some people knew what I was doing, and some didn't, and that's okay. I think. Again, it's when you get a chance to go and experience that. And I mean, that was truly my first time going out of the country to volunteer. And, when you're pulling up to a small village and you see a line like 200 people standing outside long to get free medical care, eye, doctor, medicine, seeing a grandmother being rolled in a wheelbarrow because they hear there's a free medical clinic happening for 3 days, and they walk for like several miles, I don't know how long, but with her grandmother in the wheelbarrow to give her assistance because they had no transportation. Again, it's an eye-opening experience, and it changes your lens and how you view the world and how you view things that happen to you personally, professionally, and just anything in life. And so, yeah, there were just several things, and so just blessed with the finding some of these opportunities and getting involved early.
And having those opportunities at a younger age really helps build that foundation to go to where you're at right now, and that's where I want to go is talk about Do Good Wisconsin. Can you talk about when you launched Do Good Wisconsin and what were your initial goals with that?
Yeah, in 2019, we officially launched Do Good Wisconsin, which the idea behind that was to become a platform that just highlighted the good that everyday ordinary people are doing in communities across the state. And we're not talking nonprofits, because we frankly know nonprofits are doing some great things every single day. We're talking about the 7-year-old that raises $40,000 for a charity doing a lemonade stand, or the 96-year-old that's crocheting their whole life and donating stuff to the hospital, and different stories like that, whether they happen to be one-off stories or something that's ongoing, whether it's an individual, whether it's a family, whether it's a business that's truly just making a difference in their community and finding ways to help and support. And a lot of this spawned off of just being sick and tired of seeing all the negative stuff you see on social media and the news. And one of the reasons I don't really watch the news is because nearly every single thing is negative. I mean, it's like you turn on the news, this person died, there's a war over here, this is a horrible thing happening over here. So I wanted to try to find the one out of like every 15 news stories that's actually positive and heartfelt. And hey, there are a lot more good things happening in communities across Wisconsin than all this negative stuff that you see. And that's fueled and by a lot of things, right? But so I launched Do Good Wisconsin essentially as that platform, and one of the initial programs we started right away to support was actually teachers. And so I turned to Brian Herbst. Brian is the other co-founder, a good friend of mine. Years ago, actually, and even in college, we started a thing called Project Volunteers, where we wanted to go around and inspire the youth to find ways to volunteer in their community and give back and share our stories. So we brought him on to be a co-founder of Do Good Wisconsin and assistant and grow this organization. But yeah, so he came on board, and then you know we wanted to support teachers. I mentioned, there's always all these school supply drives for students, which are needed, and it's awesome. But I'm like, I have so many of my friends that are teachers, and it's like they are underpaid. They have to pay. A lot of times they pay for so many supplies for their classroom out of their own pockets. And I'm like, let's do something for them. And so we put it out there on social media, and I had 150 teachers email me from across the state that asked for supplies, and we did the best we could to gather supplies and donations, and we put them into a box, and we supported 105 teachers, and we drove them personally all across the state, from Eagle River to Kenosha, to Platteville, all over, La Crosse. And we got them their box, and then we did it again the next year in 2020. Now, of course, this was right when the pandemic hit. Now, of course, this was when we started doing this. We didn't know what was going to happen, um, and with the school year, yet we still had just over 600 teachers apply from across the state, and we ended up supporting. I think it was like 250 teachers, and so that's one of our big programs. Right now, we're supporting just over 100 teachers this year, and we're raising some funds to do that, and we're supporting them with even more supplies than we've had in years past. And so we've had overall over the last 4 years, we've had over 1,200 teachers apply with us, and we're hoping to grow that program. But we're also looking to grow additional programs that will also help support communities across the state. And so we've got some initiatives that we're in the process of doing and supporting teachers and recognizing students that are giving back and doing some great things to hopefully encourage them to continue to do that. And we have some other things in the books that we're working on and excited about.
That's really great. Can you talk about some of the lessons you learned throughout those the first year or two that have helped kind of build to where you're at today?
Yeah, it's spinning a lot of plates. I've always been the type that's like, people that say I have too much on my plate. I always say, well, get a bigger plate. But everyone's in a different stage of their life in which how they get involved in things. And in 2019, I also got married, and then we bought a house the end of that year, and in 2020, we found out we were expecting the beginning of the year as well. But when you have a passion for something, you find a way to just grow it and find a way to make it happen. And that kind of again circles back to the determination and the commitment I had from starting my own bowl-a-thon, not knowing what I'm doing, to just simply finding a way. But I also had a little bit of time to do that. It's been kind of tough a little bit now, right? Balancing a family and my work and my company and this organization. But there's still a lot of learning right now. We're still in such a we officially just became a 501c3 nonprofit at the end of 2021, December technically. So really, 2022 here has been the first official full year of being a nonprofit. And, we've found ways in years past that we've been able to support these teachers. We've never taken any funds. We're 100% volunteer run. And we're committing to that. And, like I said, there's a lot of challenges, and I think a lot of it's sometimes time right now. I think for both Brian, myself, we have ambassadors across the state of Wisconsin. Once a year, we look for folks that want to help us grow the organization and find some more good news and spread some more good. But that help us out tremendously. We're growing our board of directors, and it's just one step at a time, right? And but when you have a passion behind it and your why, I think that's always the important thing. Is like why did I do that, right? When times get tough and things are, you feel defeated at times. Whether you're starting a business, you have a business, you don't have a business, it's just life in general. It's like why you're doing what you're doing. Maybe it's supporting your family, maybe it's trying to find ways to share more good things happening in communities, and that's why I do what I do. I want this world to be a better place because I'm here. I want this state of Wisconsin to be better because I'm here. I guess maybe I'm jumping ahead here. I'm thinking like the legacy, right? I guess of what I want to leave behind. But yeah, I mean, it's just finding that passion and going through those hurdles and those speed bumps. Because if you're not running into those speed bumps and things that you're going the wrong direction, I think sometimes. But just passion, finding ways through it.
Yep. And you touched on, growing a family. You work a full time job while you're doing this. It's a lot to balance. I have two young kids, and I try and make sure I do all the podcast stuff when they're sleeping, or they're out doing other things. So just that balance is tough. But when you're passionate about something, like you said, you will find the time, and you'll get it done. And I'm excited to see what you have in store for the future. You've had some cool things you've done over the last few years around Do Good Wisconsin. I want to talk about the Venmo challenge. Can you talk about what you did with that and the impact that had on the state of Wisconsin?
Yeah, I was connected with a gentleman on LinkedIn, and I saw he actually had mentioned something about a Venmo challenge, and no idea, intrigued of what that was, right, initially. And he shared, like, hey, the idea here is try to support servers and wait staff in the service industry during COVID, right, when it hit, and, kind of summertime and even into the fall and winter, right, of 2020. And he shared the idea of, like, where, if you want to send me, here's my Venmo. If you want to send any dollar amount, we're just going to give 100% of that and surprise a waiter or waitress. And so I'm like, that's an easy idea. That's awesome. I'm like, I'm going to do that here in Madison. And so I put it out there. I didn't get a lot of initial support from friends and others. I mean, I got $60. And the first time we did it, I did it to the golf cart lady way up north, the beverage cart lady, and it was fun. It was a cool initial experience, right? And then I'm like, I had my cousin record it, and so people saw the reaction. But second, also, is like true transparency of seeing where people's money are going and the difference you're making. So some people aren't able to all go out, or they were, truly, staying indoors, whatever the case may be. But they were seeing, like, wow, I'm able to contribute, whether it was $5 or $20. They're like, wow, look at, like, that's my money. That's the difference I was able to make, and so fast forward to doing it, I don't know, over 50 times now. I don't know. We've given out over $30,000 to wait staff, and everywhere from a $60 tip to the largest tip we gave out was $4,500. And there was an instance in Madison where somebody had wrote a homophobic comment on a receipt and didn't leave a tip on a $150 bill. And I was kind of notified, or it was told about it. And I'm like, we got to do something about this. So I screenshotted it at some point. A friend of mine sent it to me, and who knew this person, and they later deleted it. They were just mad that this happened to them, right? And so I'm like, well, let's do something about this. So when I reshared that picture, I'm like, let's do the Venmo challenge. And, in 36 hours, I had $4,500 sent to me in Venmo from people all across the world. And it was crazy. And we went there and we gave it to this person in cash. Now, this was the person that they respectfully asked that we didn't share the video, which we respected. But so I had like 6 other people there with me. It was truly incredible, but it was also awkward at the same time because we're on the outside patio with packed full of people, and you're counting out a lot of money because I usually count it out, right? It's kind of, you see their reaction, and some people think they're pretty blown away when they get a $20 tip, the servers, and then you keep going, and it's a blessing. A lot of the things that I do, I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't have the support of so many other people, and I think that's a lot of the reasons, because of just how you treat people and being respectful of others, and people see your true character of who you are and what you're trying to do. And I think I've done that most of my life, and a lot of people just get behind. I think people, that they see the passion, they see why they'd want to support, they see my why and why I'm here. And why I'm doing what I'm doing, and people got behind it, and it was just like the coolest thing. Like a friend of mine and I, we'd go out we'd grab one drink at the bar, and then leave a $450 tip. And, and again, in cash, we always gave it to him in cash, and we'd record it and we'd share these stories. And yeah, it was fun. It's fun, and we did it over this past Christmas. We teamed up with Michael Johnson from the Boys and Girls Club, and Chef Dave Hyde there at in town here, does a lot of big things and community things. And so we we went around and we blessed some people, some servers just before the holiday season, and so it's all about.
Yeah, that's truly incredible what you're able to do, and I couldn't imagine being in that, sitting here watching you count out 20 after 20 after 20, and just what's rushing through your head at that time. But you're making an impact in for them. They're also, kicking up that serotonin level in you, where you're like really excited about it, and that's incredible.
Absolutely.
I was going to talk about some upcoming events that you have. I know there's a golf outing coming up in August. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I mean, in order ways to support Do Good Wisconsin, I mean, we have a golf outing we have coming up in August already here. So we have that. You know, people can find us on our website, dogoodwisconsin.com, on our social medias. But we have a handful of other fundraisers, as I'd mentioned, being somewhat of a newer nonprofit. And things we're building on is kind of the foundational things, and part of that's fundraising to make sure we're able to do what we're able to do. Even with the school supply drive alone, I mean, we are going to be purchasing about $15,000 worth of school supplies for these just over 100 teachers, and so we need to raise the funds, and we're looking for support, and people actually can support that right now, and essentially just by supporting Do Good Wisconsin in general. So we have that event, but we have several other events that are going to be coming up here soon, and even across the state. So we're talking even in Wisconsin Dells, we're talking in Green Bay, Madison area. So kind of stay tuned, and we'll promote that up on our social media platforms.
Absolutely. You mentioned a ambassador program. Can you talk a bit about what you do with that?
Yeah, so usually I think it's usually the end of every year we put out a call on our Facebook and social media if there's someone that wants to apply to become a Do Good Wisconsin ambassador. There's an application process to go through, and an interview process, and then just if kind of everything goes good, we bring you on as an ambassador for Do Good Wisconsin, and something you can kind of highlight yourself as an ambassador, and then again, just really helps us foundationally to grow as an organization. But maybe it's hosting a social to kind of let more people know about who we are and what we're doing in their community wherever they live, and then also find some more of these good news stories out there, which also unfortunately at the same time you're dealing with following a lot of the news that's negative, but you try to find those positive stories, so we can share that in our private group, and then we share that on our social media, all these amazing stories. And we're kind of really excited for the beginning of next year of having our first banquet gala event here in the Madison area too, to one also recognize actually some individuals and businesses that we've seen some of their stories, and of course raise the funds that we're trying to raise here with Do Good Wisconsin.
That's awesome. What are your goals for the future? Do you ever see this expanding beyond Wisconsin?
Yeah, it's been in the back of my head, and maybe some people listening in aren't even from Wisconsin, but they're already tuning into this podcast. But we thought about how can we grow that? How can there be Do Good Minnesota, Do Good Illinois, Do Good Iowa, every single state, right? And I'd love to see that happen. I think foundationally right now we kind of see where our programs, what exactly do we fully want to do, and how do we want to help? What are some initiatives that can only help grow communities and charitable giving and philanthropy, and encourage people to continue to do that in their community? Um, but we also did a Do Good Wisconsin tour, last year. This idea of going around to every major city and doing an act of kindness, and Eat Street had partnered with us, founded here in Madison and Wisconsin, and so we went around, and we're hoping to kind of bring that back next year, which was a tour of going to every major city, surprising people, helping people in need out. It was like the coolest thing ever. And so, hoping to grow that, how can we travel around Wisconsin, every day of the year and just do acts of kindness and surprise people and help people out, and hopefully to inspire others as they watch that, or at least, again, just know that there's more good things happening out there. That's what it's all about.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool that you're doing that. And one question I'm curious about, and just get your thoughts on, is the impact of giving back. Can you talk about, from in your opinion, what that impact of giving back to others in your community is like?
Yeah, I think some people are like, well, it's just me. Like, I don't know if I really make an impact if I did one thing or another, if I held the door for somebody, or if, I don't know, I bought the coffee for the person behind me. Like, does that really make an impact? And, there's an African proverb that says, like, if you don't think you make a difference, you've never spent a night with a mosquito before, right? And so I think that again speaks volume to the fact that, you know, when I even did the Venmo challenge, right? Like there were people that were sending me $5, and rather than, there were some that were sending me $20 and even more than that. And so collectively, when I'm going out and giving these big tips, well, that wasn't just from one person, that was from tens of 10, 20, 30 people, whatever the fact was. It was every little bit that makes a big difference. And I think that's the thing, is like we can make a difference if we simply just there's an opportunity every single day. I always tell people, when you wake up, the people you interact with, the people that you know, the people that you don't know, you either make a positive impact on their life or a negative impact on their life. And whether that's just simply smiling at somebody that you might not know, even if you're having a rough day, like that goes a long way. There's just a story that just came out. I mean, there's always tons of stories when you look for it, right? Of just the impact you can make. Right, there was this bag set that was lost, and it was got in the news, and it had a deep meaning. I believe from the wife, and it was the husband's at some point. And anyway, it was found and returned, and now some people are like, we want to donate a set to the family that gave it back from this garage sale. Anyway, all of these things can add up, and I think it's the same thing. Just like when we all could just make a little bit of a difference, it goes a big way in a community. I mean, can you imagine if every single day somebody did one act of kindness, whatever that might look like? What if every single day we made a $5 donation to a charity, but everybody in your community did that? The difference I made. What if everybody took 1 hour a week to volunteer at the Boys and Girls Club, or volunteer at the Humane Society, or donate food to a food pantry? When my wife and I moved to Marshall, I saw this idea of putting up a little free pantry that was in a different state, and this was even I before they really popped up during the pandemic. And so I sat on this idea, right, and I'm like, this would be really cool to do when we own a house. And we bought a house the end of 2019. Well, a good friend of mine helped build this little free pantry. We live right on the main drag, and so we put it up on March 23rd of 2020, so literally a week after COVID hit. And it's something that we put out there, and we have people donate food in the community. I mean, we live in a small community, less than 3,500 people, I think. And people donate food and personal hygiene items up on our porch. We weigh it, we sanitize, we just make sure everything's not expired, it's not open, and then we fill it up every single day out in front of our house, and it's used every single day. And in 2 years since putting that up, we've had over 16,000 pounds of food and personal hygiene items go out of our little pantry in front of our house. And again, this is from that one person that might decide to donate some food to the pantry that week. And so it goes a long way. It's when everyone kind of steps in to help, and that's why we're able to do. That's why I'm able to do what I do. It's because of the support of so many, and I think this is one of the things I think I've been blessed with is to find opportunities for people to give back and help, and but at the same time, hopefully reminding them that they can do this as well. It's like it was cool doing the Venmo challenge, having a few of my friends that's like, hey, I want to do this. I'm like, do it exactly, and then that spawned off, right? I mean, if you think about it, this one gentleman that did it, he ended up giving out, I don't know, $15,000 $20,000, and well, if he didn't post about it, I wouldn't have started mine. And then I saw a couple other of my friends did it. So collectively, just from this one person that decided to post about it and do something, inspired me to do it. And next thing you know, if you think about it collectively, it's probably well over $50,000 that was given because one person decided to post about a way to give back and help others and advocate, and people got involved. And it's just, yeah, there's just a ton to that when it comes to giving back and the impact we can make in our community.
Yeah, it's that ripple effect. You start one thing, it can snowball and just create a ginormous impact in there. So that's incredible. Anything else you want to add on Do Good Wisconsin?
Man, in terms of Do Good Wisconsin, no. I mean, we're a young, small nonprofit. We're growing. We're looking for opportunities. We obviously have ambassadors, which we already talked about that opportunity, and we just appreciate everyone's support along the way, and encourage people to follow us and on social media, and find out. We'll share a lot of ways in which how you can support what we're trying to do.
Yeah, I'll make sure to put a link to the website in the description of the podcast. And yeah, I did want to talk a little bit about your consulting business you have in intentional purpose consulting. It's in that charitable vein. You want to talk about what you're doing there?
Yeah, so I when I got out of the marketing and sales side of things, my heart and my passion was the nonprofit sector. I mean, that's essentially what I got my degree in. And I was a marketing director for a small nonprofit, and then I moved over to as a program coordinator for a very large nonprofit, and then after a couple of years there and several years in the nonprofit sector, I always thought if I got out of the nonprofit sector, what could I do to still make a difference in the community? There's a lot of examples that I came across, and when I was in the nonprofit sector, when I was working and doing asks to businesses, where they were just overwhelmed with donation requests or sponsorships, and it's like it's the GM, and they're trying to run their restaurant and trying to balance all these things out. But the asks for all these different charities come in daily, and so much, so on and so forth. And I kind of joked around with a friend of mine who's a general manager, and I said, "Hey, you need help? I'll take care of all your charitable stuff." He's like, "That would be amazing." Well, it didn't come to fruition there, but it kind of spawned this idea, right? And then I remember going to another establishment for a meeting, and somebody came in and said, "Hey, 2 weeks ago I emailed, but I never heard anything back about supporting their event coming up." And then there was this other business I knew that always did good things in the community, but they never talked about it and shared it. And when you look at especially millennials now and the younger generation, and whether they're customers now or they will be down the road, like they don't care how good of a service you have or how good of a product. They want to know, what are you doing in the community and how are you helping others out. And so kind of going off of that, I launched intentional purpose consulting. We're working with businesses, individuals, and organizations, and helping them with a lot of their charitable effort and their community outreach. That can entail a whole bunch of things, from handling their donation requests and sponsorship requests, finding volunteer opportunities for their employees, doing things internally or externally when it comes to events. In fact, I've worked with even some nonprofits directly, helping them with their events just because of needing some assistance and help when it comes to organizing some events. And so this year alone, I think we're putting on or have put on 8 different charity golf outings, and we have about 4 or 5 different gala events this fall that we're helping to organize. And in 2021 alone, the events that we helped and we assisted with raised over $300,000 for nonprofits. And again, some of these I work with some businesses, but they're like, "Hey, I want to do a golf outing, but then all the proceeds will benefit a certain charity. And so that's the only type of events I work with. It's got to have a charitable component to it if I'm working directly with a business specifically for an event. So yeah, so that's been busy. That's been fun. A lot of you very heavy in the event side of things right now, but there's going to be an opportunity here that's coming up for businesses to even advertise to a lot of these nonprofits that I'm connected with. So if they have a service or a product or something, there'll be an opportunity that folks can work with me and share what they might be able to do of a resource of sorts that could a nonprofit might be looking for. So
Yeah, that's a really cool niche to be in, and you've got really great experience to lean into. And corporate giving is like you said, it's important to the organization, the employees, people that are looking for jobs. When I was looking for a new job, that was part of what I was looking for is how are these organizations giving back to the communities that they serve, and that's very important. So it's a really incredible niche you're in for your consulting company.
appreciate it.
Uh, yeah. So I want to transition to some more fun questions around the state of Wisconsin. If you don't have anything else about Do Good Wisconsin or your consulting business.
Oh, that sounds good. Let's shoot.
All right. So I got three questions here. First one: what is your favorite restaurant in Wisconsin?
Oh man, um,
This might get you in a little bit of trouble.
I know, right? It's. I mean, I don't truly have any type of sponsors, really. But I mean, I go to a restaurant when I think somewhat fast food to some extent. Some could argue it, but it is Culver's. You got to go with
Mm-hmm.
Culver's. I mean,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
it's always a my go to place for sure. Second would be Quick Trip, right? I mean, if we had to go
Yep.
Wisconsin based stuff, I mean, nowadays it's. I mean that there's so much good stuff there.
You're right. That was one of my guess answers was Quick Trip. So that counts for sure. Second question: what is your favorite event in Wisconsin?
uh, well, I might be a little biased on this a little bit because I do work with them closely, and that is Bratfest, the world's
Mm-hmm.
largest Bratfest, which is held Memorial Day weekend in Madison. And the awesome part about it is it's raised $2.3 million for area charities since it started in 1983. They just celebrated their 40th anniversary festival. It's a free festival, free parking, free admission, 75 plus bands, headliners, kids zone, sports zone, and a lot of brats. Brats, hot dogs, veggie brats, though, too, corn. And when it's all said and done, volunteers help make this festival run, and their hours turn into a donation to a charity that they select. And it's an awesome event.
It sure is. When I was working up in Madison, I remember eating brats at 8, 9 o'clock in the morning and supporting a really great cause.
Absolutely, okay, nothing better to start your morning
Yep.
than some brats.
Oh yeah. Last rapid fire question: what or where is your favorite place to hang out in Wisconsin?
Oh, great question. Favorite place to hang out? Well, I know my wife and I, we love to go to the terrace, the Union Terrace, and hang out. But right next to it, there is Picnic Point, and so
Hmm.
I would definitely say right in that area is probably one of our favorites, and my favorite just to be uh, around water and kind of in the woods. So I mean, that can go down a whole hill of places from hiking and going up north. And that's the beautiful thing about Wisconsin too is being kind of in the busy area, especially in Madison, but not too far away. You can go and be in some woods and just unplug. And for as busy as both my wife and I are, you got to have that, and Wisconsin has that, which is great.
Yeah, Madison's unique in the fact that within 10 minutes you can basically do whatever you want to do, from hiking,
Absolutely.
fishing, boating. Uh, yeah, that's awesome. All right, so I have two final questions here for you. How has Wisconsin helped shape you into who you are today?
I guess there's always been that thing of from the Midwest nice thing, to, I grew up with a faith background, and I mean, I know that's not necessarily a Wisconsin thing, so to speak, but, um, I don't know. I mean, I think it's just the people, I think in the state, when it comes to compassion, empathy, um, people willing to help and support, um, and help others out, and help people that might be going through a lot. I think that says a lot from in Wisconsin and in Madison. Um, despite any type of political view, I think when it comes down to it, just ultimately there's a lot of great, kind, and amazing and incredible people here, and you see everything from the entrepreneurs to businesses to the hardworking people that are just making things happen and grinding whatever they're doing. But when it comes down to it, I think there's just some incredible people that just are supportive and helpful and nice. And I think that just is what's helped. It's the same thing from probably growing up when I give the envelope to my mom and dad to go collect some funds, and they just, people got behind that, and then a lot of that goes back to my dad too. From raising me, and obviously my whole family raising me, but. My dad always taught me just how to be, being respectful and being kind to others and helping people out, and people going through a lot more than what you might be going through. But I think a lot of that is from being raised right, but also I think it says a lot about Wisconsin and those within Wisconsin too that are making a difference and helping people. Um, and I think there's a lot of services and things out there that I've been able to learn from, and then again I've been able to be a part of that has changed who I am, and that I would say a very positive in a good way.
Yeah, and without those people, the work that you do would be a little more challenging. And so it's incredible. I've heard that quite a bit on the podcast. The people here in Wisconsin just are truly incredible. Michael Johnson talked a lot about that and whatnot too. So, last question here for you, kind of a big one. I ask every guest on the podcast here. Ties back into the name Wisco Legacy. When all is said and done, what kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Yeah, Corey, I think I think I almost like jumped into this earlier in the podcast, and that is simply right that I do want this world to be a better place because I'm in it. I want the village of Marshall, where I currently reside, to be a better place because I'm in it. My wife and I started a fundraising event here, just to bring the community together and to raise funds for local organizations. To also look to start a scholarship that might go to support others, that are into philanthropy and giving back and charitable giving, that to inspire and hopefully encourage them to continue to do that. And I just hope through a lot of the actions that I've done, and some of these foundational organizations and Venmo challenges that I'm sharing, and that hopefully stays and floats out there for a long time, just continues to inspire other people to know that there's a lot more good things happening here, and there's a lot of great things that we're creating and impacting others and helping others, from teachers to organizations around the state, and yeah, like I said, just truly hope that um, people see that, and people continue to see that as I continue to find ways to piece together programs and things that will last and be around a lot longer than I will be. And with my son now growing up, he's almost 2 years old, and just sees what I'm doing. We have him already trying to help him put things in the our little free pantry out front. So hopefully one day he realizes the impact that that's making in the community. And it'd be interesting to know how long does that stay up, even if we moved and left here. But you just never know who you're going to impact, right? I mean, there's been a couple people I've interacted with that have stopped at the pantry when I've been out front or on the porch, and again, just continue to thank what we're doing. And again, I turn around and thank the community that makes this all possible when they donate the items. But just that simple idea of like, hey, what if we did this? Um, and you just don't know the impact that you're going to make on somebody's life, and it truly can change, and it truly can save someone's life. And I think it's something we got to remember, and I just hope more people have good days when they're around me, and are happy when they're around me now, and hopefully it's something that again kind of lives on for a long time.
Yeah, well, keep up the incredible work you're doing. You truly are making an impact. You and the team at Do Good Wisconsin are doing just incredible work. So I'm excited for the future of Do Good Wisconsin. And thanks again for joining the podcast. Anything else you want to add before we wrap up here?
No, just appreciate having me on, and I appreciate everyone's support. There's always several different ways and things that I have on my social media channels and LinkedIn and all that good stuff that I always love to share. And I always have a ton of ways in which people can give back, whether you want to donate your time, monetarily, things, skill sets. I mean, you might have a skill set when it comes to accounting and bookkeeping, which we could use for Do Good Wisconsin. Regardless, share. Feel free to reach out to me and reach out to us, and we can find some great things and ways in which you can give back. And I'm happy to share different ways and the things, the organizations I volunteered for in other countries, and just encourage people to reach out. And again, just remember that you can make a difference no matter who you are, no matter what you're going through, and no matter where you came from or where you're going. We have an opportunity once again, to make a difference in the lives of everybody we come in contact with every single day. Even when things might not be going your way, you can still make a big difference in the lives of others.
Absolutely. That's great. Well, thank you, Eric, for joining Wisco Legacy.
Thanks, Corey.
What a great episode with Eric Salzwedel. Thank you so much, Eric, for joining Wisco Legacy. The work that you're doing with Do Good Wisconsin is truly incredible. If you want to hear more about Do Good Wisconsin, head out to dogoodwisconsin.com. They have events and ways to donate and participate in the work that they do out there. If you like this podcast, head on out to wherever you listen to podcasts. You can also watch us on YouTube. Follow us and subscribe to us so you can get notifications for these episodes, and rate and review us wherever you listen. That truly helps us out a lot. Thanks again for tuning in to Wisco Legacy.